Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 10 o'clock news on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Hello and good Saturday evening, folks. Thank you for tuning in on this Veterans Day. I'm Dustin Klemann. President Donald Trump continues his overseas trip in Asia. Before heading to Vietnam, the president suggested that Russian President Vladimir Putin's assertion that he did not meddle in the presidential election was sincere. Stephen Portnoy is traveling with the president in Vietnam.
Vietnamese President Trong Dai Quang greeted President Trump at his presidential palace ahead of Sunday's trade talks here in Hanoi.
We're going to be doing a tremendous amount, billions and billions of dollars of trade.
Mr. Trump appeared confident that he could broker a deal that would strengthen American exports here and slow China's growth. Beijing is Vietnam's largest trading partner. Earlier, aboard Air Force One, the president was back on the defensive when asked if he thought Russian President Vladimir Putin was sincere in his denial of Russian meddling in the U.S. election. That, despite assurances from the U.S. intelligence community that Russia did try to interfere in American politics. President Trump told reporters, quote, "He said he absolutely did not meddle in our election. He did not do what they are saying he did." The president added, "I really believe when he tells me that, he means it."
What he believes is what he believes. What I believe is that we have to get to work, and I think everybody understood this that heard the answer. We have to get to work to solve Syria, to solve North Korea, to solve Ukraine, to solve terrorism.
Putin and Mr. Trump crossed paths during the two-day Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit, but we're told the two leaders had no formal meetings. In a joint statement Saturday, both leaders acknowledged they're sketching out a proposal for a political transition in Syria. Mr. Trump said the Russia probe, which he called an artificial democratic hit job, threatens to get in the way of such agreements with Putin. Mr. Trump tweeted, "Good discussion on Syria, hope for his help to solve, along with China, the dangerous North Korea crisis. Progress being made." The president will wrap up his visit to Asia with a stop in the Philippines before returning to the White House next Tuesday. Stephen Portnoy, CBS News, with the president in Hanoi.
In other news tonight, Republican Senate candidate Roy Moore is pushing back against allegations that he sexually assaulted an underage girl decades ago. The former judge is also rejecting mounting pressure for him to back out of the race in Alabama. CBS News correspondent Laura Podesta has tonight's report.
While speaking at a Veterans Day event, former Alabama Judge Roy Moore vehemently denied that he ever made sexual advances toward a 14-year-old girl.
These attacks involve a minor, and they're completely false and untrue. They're very hurtful to me personally.
He also rejected claims that he gave his accusers alcohol.
I have not provided alcoholic beverages, beer, or anything else to a minor.
Moore was favored to win the Senate seat vacated by now Attorney General Jeff Sessions. But a Washington Post story accusing Moore of sexual misconduct has led to mounting pressure from within his own party for him to drop out of the race. The Republican Senate Campaign Committee stopped raising money for Moore, and Senators Steve Daines and Mike Lee rescinded their endorsements.
If they're true, you should step aside.
In Alabama, a handful of Republican lawmakers are sticking with Moore, including State Representative Ed Henry. He told a local newspaper that the women should be prosecuted if they thought Moore was predatory and allowed him to exist for 40 years. Moore reminded his supporters at Saturday's event that the Senate race in Alabama could have far-reaching implications in upcoming contests in 2018.
It may very well determine the future of our country. My opponent is 11 points behind. That came out just days before this article came out. They're desperate.
Moore said the people of Alabama will, quote, see through this charade. Alabama voters head to the polls in the special election next month. Laura Podesta, CBS News, New York.
And as Laura reported, Montana Republican Senator Steve Daines withdrew his support of Moore on Friday on Twitter, saying, quote, I am pulling my endorsement and support for Roy Moore for U.S. Senate. He did not elaborate on that decision. It's Veterans Day around America. While it began with a rainy, cold day in November, the honoring of heroes could be found across the state, even right here in the Magic City. All the right sounds on Veterans Day. First Presbyterian Church hosted the annual event, and several groups participated both outside and inside the church. Friends of the Yellowstone National Cemetery hosted the celebration. VFW Post 6774 hosted a post-celebration lunch in the Heights. Remember, it doesn't need to be Veterans Day to thank a veteran for their service. This is truly a special Veterans Day weekend for a man in Wisconsin, too. Look at this. Harold Bauman turned 100 years old today. At the party at his senior living home was extra special as friends and family honored Bauman's military service. Veteran of World War II, he fought in the Battle of the Bulge, one of the last major German offensives in the conflict. Bauman received a citation for his military service. He was also recognized for 69 years of service to the American Legion. Bauman says he's grateful for his life and family, but also acknowledged the importance of remembering those soldiers who lost their lives. Very important.
Wow.
Go to another veteran, Rob Griggs, veteran in the 80s, the Air Force.
Yeah, Air Force guy.
You know, I know I speak for everyone at home. We want to say thank you, first of all.
What a
and
privilege.
we also have a photo that you shared.
Yeah.
Go back in the time machine and take a look at this.
Boom, look at the hair and the glasses.
You know, at first that bar across, I thought that was a unibrow. You had hair, but not that much hair.
No, but I did start waxing my forehead though in subsequent years. Yeah, I got to serve in Spain, and I tell you what, it was the most enjoyable. And it was during peacetime, so I was blessed to be able to serve when others didn't have that luxury, when there was actual harm's way. So,
well, again, thank you, and it's great to see, too.
Thanks, yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the weather today on a cold Veterans Day.
Well, let me give you a little better picture with less of an eyebrow. This is this is Riverfront Park. I don't know if Linda Carlson was wearing her aviator glasses when she took this picture, but look at the Dalmatian. That is one happy Dalmatian in Riverfront Park. Thanks so much for that, Linda. Here's another one from George Simmons. Check it out. That's Forsyth, and look at the train. Isn't that just kind of a lonely, kind of hear a country western song in there somewhere. This is a great picture from Loretta Hurley. Clouds moving in, kind of ominous there over the trees. And then finally, we've got this nice little picture from Glendive. Sandy Dara sent us this pretty sunset. Will we have any more pretty sunsets or snow and clouds? I'm going to give you the complete details of the forecast momentarily. Dustin?
All right, Rob, thank you very much. It was a joyful moment for 8 families today as they finalized adoptions at the 20th Annual Billings Adoption Celebration. The celebration is part of National Adoption Month and National Adoption Day. Here in the 406, there are more than 3,300 kids in foster care, 879 right here in Yellowstone County. Some children have been in the foster care system for so long, they actually age out at 18 without finding a forever family. Join us next week. Q2's Asia Gore goes on special assignment to look at aging out in the foster system and how it's affected one young woman in college after aging out of the foster care system. You won't want to miss it. Coming up next on the Weekend News, in light of the deadly mass shooting in Texas last week, pastors are providing safety. We'll show you how after the break. And in sports, Central Huntley Project celebrating state volleyball titles. Plus, Scott has a full afternoon of semi-football action you'll want to stick around for.
You're watching MTN News with Dustin Klemann, Storm Tracker weather with Rob Griggs, and sports with Casey Conlon. This is the Q2 10 o'clock news in high definition.